So Harold contacted me and asked me if I wanted to come check out a 4th century Greek build he did. Yeah, of course I do. Oh, right. Oh. All right, hold on. Hey everyone, Thoscalos here, and today we are doing something a little different. Next to me is Harold Halfdan. Harold, why don't you tell them about yourself?
Thanks, Thoscalos. Yeah, Harold Halfdan. I am a YouTuber, used to be an archaeologist, and specialized in Irish medieval archaeology, and now I build archaeological sites on YouTube.
Nice. And you're probably wondering where here is. Well, this is the great tumulus of Macedon. Okay, I'm ready.
Nice vest. Oh, and the purple tie? Very snappy.
Yeah. Where are we going?
Well, over this way.
All right.
Let's fly over this way.
All right.
We have to go through the Roman district.
Oh.
On the way there. Sorry. I know you love the Romans.
Yeah. Silly Romans, they don't even have a roof.
I know. Yeah, those Romans in Pompeii. They just, the volcano blew it off.
Uh-oh. Where did you go?
I'm hovering over Pompeii right now.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
Many hours later.
Okay, well, we're gonna head this way over the ocean a little bit.
Okay.
I do this in my videos where if I'm let's say talking about England or whatever, Great Britain or Iceland or whatnot, I've done these maps and then I could just kind of point to them.
Oh, nice.
To where it is.
How long does it take you to do this?
So back when I did these, I didn't have my current process. So these took like 3 or 4 hours each because I was literally had on one screen a map and then I would be like, okay, 1 down, 3 over, 4 down, 2 over, and then like placing an outline. So that sucked. Now I actually have a better methodology where I basically take Lightmatica and then I can upload a picture in Lightmatica. It then creates the outline and then I can fill it in. That takes about 45 minutes to do.
Nice. Do you use Lightmatica for your map art too that you do?
Yeah. So that's yeah. So this stuff. Yeah. So on this build that we're going to look at, that's what I did with the light. I'll show you those builds as well once we get over there. This is kind of more the Irish Scottish area over here.
Okay.
That's Newgrange over on the left. I don't know if you see that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then my tower house we're kind of coming up on, and little ruins of the monastery. Off in the distance on the left, that was, I did an episode about how you walk fields and do like survey archaeology.
Oh, yeah.
I made a big field and essentially walked it. So
did you cover the archaeologists' disregard for other people's property and the blatant trespassing that we do all the time? Because I'll tell you, that's some butt puckering moments for me.
Yeah. I did talk about that a little bit. I mean, we would try back when I worked for the state. We would try and call first, and we would send notices in the mail because we were a state agency, and so. but people wouldn't read their mail, people wouldn't answer the phone, and so there were certainly times when people would be threatened to get a shotgun, or there was a time that someone, like, we were doing shovel tests out in this field, and someone let their I don't know if it was a cow, but we assumed it was a bull because it was kind of aggressive, and we hightailed it out of there. We grabbed our buckets and ran.
Yeah. Plenty of times I've been doing survey, we come up to a fence, and crew chief and everyone else just kind of goes through it, and I'm thinking, there's a sign back there that says no trespassing.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. Oh, we're just going over there. It's fine. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I did touch on that. I didn't belabor it because I didn't, but yeah, that was certainly.
I mean, I've never heard of an archaeologist getting shot or anything. So, I mean,
exactly. And we would just encourage people to call the cops because, like, by law, we had to be there,
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is around a ring fort, which is Irish over here.
Okay.
And then heading over this way here. I don't know if you can
got a ship?
Yeah. So this is actually, this was a concept. I never actually did an episode on this. Not that it's a spoiler or nothing. I kind of was thinking about at some point doing a short, because the Romans would build, other ancient peoples, they'd build basically a bridge across water just with a whole bunch of boats stacked up, and then they'd lay planks over it. And so I was trying to kind of conceptualize that out here, but the boats would never stay in place. And so I was trying to figure out if I could mock up an actual, like, replica of a Roman ship. That's what this boat is here. And then just find a larger span of water, like an ocean, and just kind of like put planks over it. Because there's a lot of historical stories about, whether it's, emperors or whatever who just didn't want to walk on water, and they put, over it's Bosphorus and whatnot. Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that, because the video that's going out today, which this will kind of give away when we're recording this, is my building the Byrene video, where I actually talk about when Xerxes does that at the Hellespont, where he builds,
totally,
where he does the pontoon bridge with the boats, and how he, like, gets pissed off at the Hellespont and tries to enslave the Hellespont god and stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, it was a great concept, and I was like, oh, this will be cool for, like, a little minute-long short. And then I just couldn't keep the boats stable enough during the recording, and it just kind of got fiddly. So I just, but I may return to it. I may at some point do, like, an episode. It's kind of on my list to at some point do an episode of, like, here's 5 different historic boat designs, of different ages, kind of thing. And then,
well, if you want blueprints or not blueprints, but because it's all done by pen and paper, but if you want the blueprints of my Mycenaean Type 6 ships, I think is the ones I did for Pylos. They were the Type 6 ships, and then I also did the Minoan style ones for Domini as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome, and I can shout out your video. Then and point people to that. That would be great.
Yeah.
So it's not too much further.
Okay.
It's over this way. This little thing over here. This is a little like a turf house. So it's like Viking era, an Iceland turf house. And so I figured everyone does videos about longhouses, but no one really does a turf longhouse. So I kind of riff on that a little bit.
Right.
Okay, so this is
and turf houses are really what you do for your first house in Minecraft, anyways.
Exactly. This is the Great Tumulus here.
Oh, okay.
So, and this was one of those. I did light Matica on this. So the actual terrain of the hill is the actual terrain and topography of the hill.
Nice.
So I like one of those articles had a shot that I found of the actual typography. So what I did is, using kind of a light Matica trick, kind of like what I was doing with the map art, I then was able to kind of go level by level up through the meters to then put the exact terrain of what it looked like. So this, it's exactly this high. The top of the terrain's exactly this dimension, so that the hill actually looks like the real hill in real life.
Yeah.
And then that also helped me place where exactly in the hill, under the hill, the actual tombs were as well. So
Okay.
this little bit here, not necessarily artistic liberty, but the entrance here to Tombs 3, which is on the rightmost side, Tomb 2, which is in the center, and then that kind of the modern entrance is kind of this sandstone color, and so that's essentially why I replicated it like I did.
Okay.
Just so the entrances are kind of the modern visitor entrances. The flowering plants around there, there's actually some pink flowering plants and bushes on each side today, like if you would go and visit it today. So that's why I picked kind of what that looks like. So it's a little bit of a hybrid of what it looked like today versus kind of what it looked like maybe then, but I have no idea what it looked like then. Who knows what the plants really look like.
Yeah.
So that's, instead of it just being this, I did a joke kind of at the beginning of that episode of my episode for part 1 being like, I'm going to build a big dirt mound, have fun with this, kind of thing. So, because, it's one of these things that it's a super cool archaeological site, in my opinion, but it's like in Minecraft, it is just a dirt mound with some small little structures embedded in it. So, and then Tomb 1 is around the corner here, and I kind of flagged because that's truly underground. It's a kiss tomb, and so these 2 little dirt blocks, are hiding that. So it's under that.
Okay.
And then this area here, these ruins, that wouldn't have been there during Philip's time, because this is a hero shrine that was built after. And then it was, I believe it was an invasion of Gauls that destroyed this later.
Okay.
So I just kind of replicated what the kind of modern ruins would look like a little bit, but didn't really talk about this at all in my video. But just to kind of fill out the ambience of the place.
Yeah. Make it a little more interesting. Yeah.
Over here was kind of a whole bunch of armor stands for me just to describe. Here's the family tree,
Oh, yes.
It's like, here's all the people that were assassinated. Here's all of his wives. Here's where their kids were,
Yeah.
Who killed who.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the whole War of the Successors thing is such a weird bunch of like you talk about the twists and turns of Game of Thrones, man. Nah. This War of the Successors just would completely dwarfs that.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy to me how people reoccur, right? So it's like, the generals that were some of Philip's generals become Alexander's generals, and then once he dies, they become successor kings, and then there's the Civil War, and then they get killed. But it's like these people span decades and decades.
Oh,
you know, and it really was like a Game of Thrones kind of thing. It's like you almost expect Littlefinger to pop up and be like, chaos is a ladder. I'm taking over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So some of these people I didn't really get into, I didn't really talk about his first wife at all, or second wife, or I talked a little bit about Olympias, and talked more about Meta, because potentially she's buried in one of the tombs, and then Cleopatra because she's potentially buried in one of the tombs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then these things, I try and do these next to all my builds, and it's I'm always so wishy-washy about this. Just insight pool to how I think about my videos. But it's like my little chalkboard talks, where it's I try and mocked up a chalkboard just so it's just not me totally just talking and punching at the screen, just to keep the camera moving. But it's also, I just don't, these are the kind of things I'm talking about, pointing at the chalkboard. These are the kind of historical background tips kind of thing to provide context. Oh, the trees, I'll say too, is I marked out where the trees were. So this is I mean, I've never been here in real life, but I don't know. I based on all the pictures I took, I or found online, I think this is fairly accurate. Let's open up the Kiss tomb here. So this, I don't know. It's very small. I mean, not maybe small for a Kiss tomb, but it's small from a Minecraft perspective, So And then that's Hades abducting Persephone. So that actually is the real frieze on the wall in this exact kiss tomb in real life.
Okay.
So with one of the theories being that Philip II, Cleopatra, and his infant son are buried here, and then other people say no, and it's just someone else buried here.
Right.
So, but I don't know. The people with this theory, I find it interesting that the Greek antiquity department has like disavowed this theory because they, for whatever reason, they don't think this one's accurate. I don't know which one's the reality or not, myself, but I do find it kind of compelling that, Philip gets assassinated, Olympias kills off Cleopatra right after, right after Cleopatra has Philip's infant son. So it's so compelling that like in this kiss tomb, which is a style of tomb that would date to when Philip would have died, is all the individuals match the historical ages of people that you could historically be appropriate for that, so that like that to me is so compelling, but yet there's like other stuff in Tomb 2 that you're just like, oh well, that makes sense too, like and even Philip, like he had historically like that wound to his leg that like killed his horse he was even riding on, and this guy in this tomb has a spear hole through his knee, right, and so it's like even the wound in theory matches up. So I don't know. Personally, I think this is kind of compelling, but who knows, in real life, it's one of these things that like, man, it would be awesome to like be able to trace the genetics back, or something, and do DNA, and be like, nope, DNA totally squares. So this one here is Tomb 2, and like with Tomb 1, this is the frieze, the hunting frieze that's over this tomb is the actual one in the actual real tomb.
Okay. Yeah, and I have some issues too with the one theory, like, oh well, it has lions on it, so therefore it can't be from this time. Right. It's like, dude, they knew about lions beforehand. Like, exactly. Like come on, man, like get out of here with that. Like they make reference to lions in the Iliad, and that was written down in the 8th century. So like, no, your theory doesn't hold water.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's some stuff with the interpretation with Tomb 2 that exactly right. It's just, like, oh, it's a barrel vaulted tomb, so that must have been Persian influence, or
right.
It's a hunting frieze, that must be Persian influence, and it's like, like there were, the Persians invaded Greece and Macedonia way before Philip, and so it's like there was tons of context. I think the interpretation of Macedon being on the fringes, a backwater, is just, to me doesn't hold water.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And then on top of that, like, hunting scenes have been around since long before this. Exactly. So I mean, to make the jump from having a hunting scene on like a dagger to a hunting scene on the wall, or a hunting scene on the wall, which was at Pylos and Mycenae and all those other places, like well before this. Like, it's I don't know. So, well, you know how it goes, right? Because you're an archaeologist. You want to make a name for yourself. What do? You challenge some well-established belief, and you get your little 15 minutes of fame, and people believe it, and then you're in the books. And so,
exactly.
To make a claim like this, knowing that your theory is basically a colander, it's not gonna, it won't fly, but it gets your names in the books, and obviously we're talking about it. So good job on that.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like every challenged theory. I mean, just to play the counterpoint, because I think you're absolutely right, but just to, there is times to challenge established theory too. And I think that's an important thing in any field, but archaeology certainly.
Yeah.
But I mean, back when I was more in academia, when I got my master's, it was like you'd talk to professors or other people in the field, and you'd have the definitive guy around this type of, or this, the definitive expert about this type of thing, whether it's, an artifact type or an architectural type or a structure type. And it's like, they wrote the book on it. And it's like, well, you couldn't question them until like after they retired or died, and it's just like, no one would dare and you're just like, well, but why? Like,
exactly.
Either they're right or they're wrong. Let's actually look at the merits, and with new evidence, maybe it should be reinterpreted.
Yeah,
and that's why I think like the good experts are always looking at, questioning even their own stuff to make sure that that's what science is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you look at like Clovis. The people have been for years and years and years saying like, oh, the Clovis civilization, that was the first civilization in the New World. But we have all this evidence that suggests a pre-Clovis civilization.
Right.
But since there's so many people who are tenured or have built their profession on the Clovis being the first people in the New World, like, you can't challenge them. You challenge them and they dismiss you. And since they're on a board or whatever, you don't
exactly.
you don't get the shot to really challenge them on stuff like that. And so, once some people who are well established like that, are retire or die, or, we'll start seeing more and more things like that come out. But yeah, absolutely. We should always question stuff. I mean, look at how much of ancient Greek archaeology is just regurgitated early 1900s archaeology. I mean, yeah,
exactly. So in this tomb, so antechamber, much larger than normal. And I kind of put these, I named them. So it's like there was a golden bow case, some bronze greaves. This was a golden, chest.
Larnax. Larnax.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I used the yellow shulker, because I couldn't make a gold chest,
Mm-hmm.
And then the main chamber then had this ivory decorated shield, and then it had an iron helmet, an iron breastplate, and then this in theory would be the same thing, the remains of Philip II potentially, or Alexander's half-brother potentially. But in there was also this golden wreath as well. So that's and then there was the scepter, which was interesting. So the scepter I didn't really talk about too much in my video, but the scepter was one that like the original archaeologist mentioned it, but then it kind of disappeared. And then he was asked about it a bunch, and it was like, and then he gave this response, it was like, oh, it just disintegrated. But people have pointed again to like maybe Persian influence, because there's Persian coins and whatnot with a Persian leader holding a scepter, and then Alexander in some of his later coins after he conquers Persia starts holding a scepter.
Right.
And so like before that, in Macedonian rulers didn't necessarily have scepters in their art. So it's one of these things that people are like kind of lamenting the fact. It's like, man, if we could actually study it or see it, was it really a scepter? Was it not a scepter? Was it just a pole? Just a wooden pole that but it's gone. Like no one knows where it is.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, and scepters weren't unheard of either. Prior to the Persian, to the invasion of Persia. So I mean, like it could have easily been. Hey, you know what it could be? It could be part of the spear shaft that took out Philip's knee. Who knows? Maybe he had that thing. I mean, I would have that thing framed if it were me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like hang it over the mantelpiece.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this couldn't take me down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Walk around with it in your hand all the time. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
That's right. Well, and then because he's lame, he could use it as a walking stick.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is tomb 3 here. So it did have a frieze above it in, back when it was first built, but it's all gone now. So who knows what it actually looked like.
And this was the one that was looted. Yeah.
No. So sorry. So tomb 1 was looted. Tomb 2 and tomb 3 were completely intact.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And so this has an antechamber and then a main chamber. And then this is where the consensus is pretty much that Alexander IV, so Alexander the Great's son, is buried here.
Okay.
And so again, has a skeleton and has a golden wreath in this one as well, of a slightly different style.
Okay.
So yeah, but less decoration, but I think it's probably likely that, if Alexander, like when Alexander the Fourth died, like I don't know how much energy they would have taken to decorate his tomb, 'cause at that point it was who was it? Cassander, I think, was in charge.
Yeah, so. That guy was a dirtbag. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, real dirtbag. Because didn't Cassander kill Alexander the Fourth?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
That's real dirtbag. Real dirtbag.
Yep, and then he killed Alexander the Great's stepbrother and his wife, and so it's like he was just taking out. Oh, hello, cow. He was just taking out the royal family.
Yeah,
which I guess from Cassander's perspective, that's what you got to do. That's like that's what Yeah,
what, you're creeping me out, man. Stop it. Okay.
He's just gonna stare at you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I thought about with all the frescoes and stuff at Pylos, I was thinking about doing map art to cover all the walls, which would have taken me forever.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. I mean, the to do this by scratch would have literally been 40, 60 hours. As it was, doing all this probably took 8 to 10 hours. Because each one of these map segments was easily 45 minutes to an hour to place all the blocks.
Jeez.
But at least each one of these map segments, in Litematica was, you're following a design. Then you're not having to spend a whole bunch of time looking back and forth. Yeah. So the one in Tomb 2 is, 1 tall, 5 long, and then this other one on the opposite side, which is, Hades abducting Persephone, that's 1 tall and 3 wide.
Okay.
So.
Jeez, yeah. There must be honestly, an easier way to do map art, though. I mean, there's got to be something out there that
So there is, to be honest. So what you can do is that there are websites that let you just upload a picture, and then it just saves the DAT file, and then you can just manually drop that in your in your file system in your Minecraft folder. There's a data folder that then has all of your map as individual files. So you can just literally drop that in, and then you just, if you're in creative or have OP or what, you can then just do a give command, give yourself that map, and then you have it in hand. So technically there is an easy way to end run all of this, but and I build in creative, so it's, maybe I should have done that, but I also kind of, I'm building a world here a little bit, So it felt like just giving myself the map by using a website to do everything for me seemed a little cheaty.
Right, right.
But the thought did cross my mind.
Yeah. After
spending 5 hours placing blocks, I was like, oh well, maybe maybe it'd be easy just to do this.
Yeah. Well, and when I was doing Pylos, I was like, oh, I could do map art for the walls, and then I realized how big a single map was and how little of the wall it covered and how much material it was going to take. And at the time, it was Hermitcraft season 9, and that's what Vintage Beef was doing, and I was like, yeah, no, screw that. Screw that. I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. Well, and if you're doing it in creative, that's so much easier than doing it in survival, because survival, you're then finding all the different kinds of blocks.
Yeah.
In the right quantities, where in creative you're just you have to place it, but you're just you're just pulling it out of thin air.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was essentially the build for this this world. I mean, I haven't I mean, basically my methodology in this world is I find an area that looks like what I want to cover, and then I just kind of build it wherever. So it's not like there's paths and streams and, and I'm, building a whole world. But so this whole world kind of has different archaeological stuff kind of spread throughout.
Yeah.
I was using that as a example of a swamp village because they built. Actually, do you want to see it? We can go. Yeah. We can certainly fly over there. So here's kind of this direction through this swamp here. These roads here are just, I was doing some examples. I did a video about some bog trackways, essentially, and bog peoples, and then past the Crannog over here. This is actually one of my favorite builds, this Crannog.
Oh yeah, that's pretty nice.
This one was cool. This is actually a replica of a Crannog in Wales. I think it's the only Crannog found in Wales, and I was able to, with this video, like if you would dig down into it, you would see actually how it was built. So I was able to, using Minecraft blocks, basically replicate the construction technique used to then build the artificial island, the Crannog, or build off of the real island with artificial island expansion of what a Crannog really looked like. But yeah, so past that, over in this area here was the Terramar village. But the Terramar built all of their houses up on stilts, essentially to keep it all off the water. So essentially they were in like a heavily floodable area is where their whole, so I basically replicated that. So all the kind of houses up on stilts, and then and then they were protected by these basically these earthen mounds with kind of palisade walls around it was essentially what. But so it's interesting with them, like they go through this transition where you have these smaller, very diverse small settlements. So that's one of these where it's just like a couple houses, maybe dozen, maybe at most 100 people or so scattered throughout the whole river valley. And then over 100, 200 years, they then transition to consolidating into much larger settlements, but fewer of them. So there's maybe a dozen, 2 dozen of them throughout the Po River Valley. And then essentially they all seemingly leave. And then for about 200-300 years, up until the Etruscan era, that area of the Po River Valley essentially doesn't have people. It's just completely deserted, at least as far as we could tell from an archaeological perspective. Interesting. Yeah. So there's different theories, like climate change. Maybe they were geared around, living kind of in a swampy area, but, due to environmental shifts, their kind of way of life changed, or maybe it was disease, or maybe it was just societal shifts. And that's why you saw, the societies going from more diverse to centralized, and then, they decided to all migrate or whatever. Right. So, and I think there's some theories as well that it was like, plagues or, disease or whatnot. So, but I think sometimes when there's, in my opinion, when there's kind of unexplained, like we just don't have historical records, we don't have written records, like I think all of those theories I just said get floated out there as potentials, and it's just, pick your poison, maybe some of A, some of B, Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the college answer, right? Which is if you're given A or B, it's both. Right. Yeah. I also noticed that without fail, of course, villagers get stuck in the pens. Oh yeah, they find their way in. Yeah. I had them all like in houses, and but yeah, no, they all just get. Yeah, and then they all just gathered here. I don't know what's with this watchtower over here. Yeah. But like they did this before so I built all this, put the villagers where they should go in theory for the video, and then they all migrated to here. And then I kind of, before my video, had to prune the villagers and then put them again where they should go to then film it. And then now they've, since my video's over, they've now all migrated back here again. So there's something about these specific areas that they like to go to. Yeah, maybe it's the high points. I don't know. Could be. Yeah, I've noticed that the villagers in the Skyblock series really seem to like to climb up on the walls and on the roof of the houses. Even though there's even though there's doors for them to go out of, they really like the roofs. And yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, pathfinding isn't their strong suit. Yeah. Matter of fact, one of my villagers died from falling off of one of the roofs. He'd fallen off too many times. Yeah, and he died. And I was like, what the heck? Yeah, okay, so it fell off numerous times. I was going to say, because like they normally have logic to say, I'm not going to fall off this unless they're pushed in a way that then kills them. But if they've done it multiple times and that damage builds up, then I don't think there's a, they'll kill themselves over time like that. Yeah, because I don't think it would have been, any of them would have been pushed off the edge, because they don't really go
close to the edges of the island. But they sure do love going up on the roof and falling off, and they take damage every single time they fall off too.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Weirdos.